Katie here from the Scrappy Sisters, and I am up today for a layout for Confessions of a Paper Addict. We are back on the design team this term, and we are super excited. And I have used a cut file called the Rainy Days cut file, and essentially it's a beautiful umbrella with clouds, and the original cut file has raindrops as well within the kind of umbrella itself as part of the design. I used the raindrops in a different way and I turned it into a giant shaker pocket, which is super cool. I had some really large sequins from Spiegelbaum scraps that I wanted to use up, and I thought this lent itself quite well to a shaker pocket, and it does look pretty cool if I don't say so myself. Now, I have pulled out my Vicky Bouton iridescent glaze. It's actually going quite thick, and I'm doing my best to try and use it up. I actually have another unopened tub. I accidentally purchased two. I bought one for my sister last year for Christmas, and then I forgot that I'd already bought her one and bought another one. So I do have a spare that's unopened, but I am trying to use this one up because it is, as I said, getting quite thick. So I've literally just painted that onto my background paper. I am using Bohemian Dreams from Cocoa Vanilla Studio for this layout, and so this is a full sheet of 12 by 12, and it's quite dark, so I just wanted to tone it down a little bit with that iridescent glaze in the background. It looks very shiny on camera, and it is shiny, but because the lights that I film with are shining, straight down onto that layout, it obviously is picking up the iridescent glaze and reflecting that back, so it's not quite as reflective in person, but it is still quite shiny. It's got quite a silver sort of undertone to it. Now, I have a lot of photos. I'm really enjoying multi-photos at the moment, if you watch my process videos a lot. So I cut these down to I don't know if they're 3x3 or they'll be slightly less than 3x3, I think, square images, and I've got 5 of them. So they were all taken at the exact same time, effectively, or sort of at the same thing. One is a selfie of my partner and I standing underneath my mother-in-law's veranda. She lives in a granny flat behind our house, and my son wanted to play outside, and he wouldn't take no for an answer, but it was raining. And my partner and I didn't really want to get wet, but he was adamant he wanted to play outside, so I put him in all of his wet weather gear, his wet weather pants and his rain jacket, and let him go and play. It wasn't super cold, it was just wet, and he had a grand old time. So the other photos are of him playing in the rain, and he's sliding on his slide. Those photos are the funniest because he didn't realise how fast he would go down the slide in the rain, and he really went flying, and I managed to capture some great action shots. And then the others are just him driving his little car and just pulling a face on top of his little climbing frame. So he had a lovely time, and I wanted to include all of these photos on the page. I couldn't pick just one to represent that story. So I did. I just made my photos slightly smaller, and I am getting all 5 onto this page. And I don't think it looks too clustered at all. So if you are someone like me who used to pretty much only exclusively scrap single photos, then totally, give the multi-photos a go if you think that is something that you would enjoy. So I used to scrap mainly single photos, particularly before children, or before, I have only got one child, before my child was born. And I found that I didn't take as many photos, and only one photo kind of was enough to tell that story or to represent that story. But now I take a lot of photos, mainly all of my son, but I do take a lot of photos, and sometimes I just can't choose which photos I want to include on the page, and sometimes the story lends itself to multiple photos, so I just put them all on there. And I'm trying to make my albums a bit less bulky, so also doing multi-photo layouts means I can kind of not necessarily do quite so many layouts for the year. I'm still only on my first album, but we're now in May. However, I think I'm only up to March of 2021. So I haven't filled one album yet, but I'm going to be close. So I wanted to only use 2 albums for this year, but I don't think that's going to happen. I suspect I'll be using 3. But anyway, we will see how we go. Now I'm using wet glue to stick my photos down, which I don't normally do, but the mixed media is not quite dry. It's dry enough, but it's not 100% dry. And I knew that my ATG wouldn't hold up and wouldn't adhere properly to that iridescent glaze or the mixed media in the background. So I am using my art glitter glue to stick down my photos. It does warp the page a little bit, both the wet glue and the mixed media I put on there, because I didn't prep my page first with gesso, and you totally could do that. I never prep my page with gesso. I fully acknowledge that you do get a different result with mixed media if you do prep your page with gesso, but I just forget. And oftentimes when I want to do a layout, I'm sort of ready to go then and there, and I don't always think about prepping my page first and letting the gesso dry. So, there's that. Now I'm sticking down my umbrella cut file. I'm really happy with this giant shaker, honestly. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. I don't do shaker pockets very often, but I was super happy with this. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. So I will leave a link in the description box down below to the Confessions of a Paper Addict Facebook group. You should totally come and join us. Virginia releases free cut files every month to the people in that group, and that's the only way that you can get them. And this month, because it was International Scrapbooking Day on the 1st of May, there's a couple of additional freebies up for grabs. So definitely come and hang out with us in the Facebook group. Just request to join and you'll be let in. Just make sure you answer the questions first. Otherwise you won't get in, because the questions, if you're not familiar with how Facebook works, it helps prevent like bots and not real people from joining the groups, because you'll be surprised how many random people request to join scrapbooking groups. So yes, that happens on a daily basis. So just by answering those questions means we know that you are a real person who loves scrapbooking and would like to come and hang out with us. So definitely come and join us. We're fun. As I said, there's always free cut files every month, which is super exciting. And if for no other reason, it's a great reason to come and join our group. But also we have a lot of fun together. We love sharing and supporting each other, and generally, chatting. So come on over. I will also link to this cut file directly in my description box, as well as just to the store in general, just if you want to check out the full suite of offerings that Virginia has. I think, let me see, I've got the page open right now. Yes, I was going to say, I thought she had over 800 cut files in there. She's got close to 850 cut files in there. So there are plenty to choose from. I would challenge you to, not find something you love in amongst the 850 beautiful cut files that Virginia has. So definitely go and check them out. So what am I doing? Oh, I am using the florals from the Bohemian Dreams collection and just creating some clusters around my photos. I've gone with 3 clusters. I realized that the photos, like there's quite a lot of photos on this page, and I definitely, sorry, losing my voice. I definitely could have probably toned down the embellishments a little, but I didn't, because I didn't want to. But I could have. And if you're not someone that does a huge amount of embellishing on your page, but you'd still, like to include multiple photos and you want to have a play around with cut files, you definitely can be very minimal if that's your scrapbooking style. Don't let that kind of hinder you from jumping on the cut file bandwagon and having a turn, because there's some beautiful cut files that you really don't need to do much with at all to make your page really pop, and the cut files can really help you tell a story. So obviously I picked this cut file specifically because these photos are about us playing out in the rain, and Danny and I are, sheltering from the weather, which, the umbrella represents that, but also the rain. And so you can really help, a cut file can really help bring your story to life. And I don't need to do much journaling on my pages at all, because I don't love to do journaling, but I don't need to do much at all to get the message of this story across. I mean, we weren't doing anything particularly special. We were just playing in our backyard. So it doesn't need a huge amount of journaling, but, the umbrella immediately kind of helps to frame the fact that it's raining. And obviously he being in rain clothes is a bit of a giveaway too. So I'm just sticking down all my embellishments now. I probably could have edited this part out for you. I'm not sure if I do. Maybe I do. but I don't think so. It's not looking like it. So you'll get to watch me stick everything down. I think I said earlier that I'm trying to reduce some of the bulk in my albums, so I'm not popping up quite as many things on foam as I potentially used to. I still am, clearly here. I'm adding some dimension in, but because my cut file is a shaker pocket, it's already got a little bit of dimension, so I'm happy to add dimension elsewhere on the layout because it'll sort of still keep it at the one level of dimension. I'm trying not to go much beyond just one level of dimension, if that makes sense. But sometimes, it is needed, and I will pop things up more if I think that's necessary. But I am trying to reduce the bulk. I just want to squeeze in 1 or 2 more layouts per album, and I'm hoping that by cutting down on my bulk on my pages that I might be able to do that. I'm determined. I'd love to do 2 albums a year, but I'm thinking this is not the year that is going to happen, but we'll see. Ask me at the end of 2021 if I manage to fit into one album, to 2 albums, and I'll let you know. Certainly in 2020, I did not. I used 3. I thought for a while there I was going to have to use 4, but I really cut down. And what I did was I do my I do Project Life to tell the kind of the general stories of our life, particularly being more family centered, and I do that digitally. So I'll be printing out photo books for my digital album, and the reason I do that is because it allows me to get a lot more photos on the page, and by doing it digitally, it's doesn't take up quite as much space on my shelf. And I think that people will be more likely to flick through a digital album, personally, for my family. And so I want to be able to tell our stories. I want to get our general family stories told, and digital PL works well for that. So I am a little bit more selective about the photos that I make in 12 by 12 size. I am under no illusion I do this hobby for myself. I love the creative outlet it provides. I enjoy the process. I enjoy looking back through my albums, but I acknowledge that perhaps the rest of my family are not quite as interested in it as I am. Lincoln likes looking at photos of himself at this age. I mean, he's 2. So he will flick through and kind of have a look at the things that I've been making, but he's not that interested. Hopefully when he gets a bit older, perhaps he will be. But he definitely isn't, he's not getting my albums down off the shelf yet and flicking through them. So I am under no illusions that I am doing this for myself to record the memories that I have. Hopefully one day people will look through them, but I'm kind of okay if they don't. I'm okay if this is a just for me hobby. The things, I think we all need those things to keep us happy and mentally healthy. And if this is what I do for myself creatively, then that's great. And so the digital Project Life albums is sort of the thing that I believe people will keep and, hold on to and read back through over the years. That's what I'm hoping anyway. I will say though, as a kid, I used to look through my mum's photo albums all the time. I loved looking at photos of when I was little. So I'm sort of hoping that, that love is passed on to Lincoln. We'll see what happens. Now, I've almost finished my layout. I'm sorry, I rambled through that. I know some people don't love it when you go into tangents like that. So I do apologize, but I have created my title. I used some floral thickers, which are a little hard to see on camera, but nonetheless, I have used them. And I have used the little raindrops that were formed part of the design on the umbrella in the cut file. And I've actually added them as sort of falling raindrops into each of my clusters. And then all I'm doing is coming back in with some splatters, obviously navy Heidi Swapp Colour Shine, because if you know nothing about me, you should know that this is my favourite mist, and I basically put it on every layout, even if I have not used blue at all anywhere else. I just love it that much. So we are all done. Thank you so much for watching. I will leave links to everything in the description box down below, and we'll see you in our next video. Thanks, guys. Bye.